enable you to win. Because I love to win, I hate to lose. I'm not interested in riding a rocket into outer space if I'm going to burn up on re-entry. I want to win. I want to win. Now, we're going to discuss 4 actual cases of real, live people. Let's go back and review. Courts of inferior jurisdiction, where we have to start out. How do they get jurisdiction? That's right, from pleadings sufficient to invoke their power to act. And where do they get these pleadings? They get them from the people that are litigating, and they do it right. We have a common sense, which means that before we know what any statute, rule, constitution means, we're going to have to look at what the Supreme Courts have ruled and determined that it means, and we find that where? In the state annotated. To invoke their power to act. And where do they get these pleadings? They get them from the people that are litigating, when they do it right. We have a common sense, which means that before we know what any statute, rule, constitution means, we're going to have to look at what the Supreme Courts have ruled and determined that it means, and we find that where? In the state annotated. Jurisdiction is a 4-legged table. You've got to have 2 people. You've got to have the subject matter, and you've got to have the competent witness. If any of those elements is missing, the table falls down, it's void, and is subject to being vacated. Now we're going to start looking at some actual cases. The first case they're going to tell you about is Tim. Now, before I tell you about Tim, there is a pass out in your materials that I hope is handy. And this is a letter to a collection agency. Anybody ever heard from a collection agency? Okay. There is a letter to a collection agency that I have used by count 9 times. There has yet to be reported to me a single response. This letter will empower you to learn. Do I? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it's this page. It's this page. This empowers you to learn whether the people that are calling you on the phone and writing threatening letters have the authority to do that. If you send them this letter, you will find out fast whether they do or not. Because you'll probably never hear from them again. I've used it 9 times. Nobody's reported to me that they've ever heard from them again. Which tells me that those collectors were trying to run a con game. If they had legitimate rights, they would have pursued them, but they didn't have legitimate rights. And once they were confronted with something that was sufficient, then they decided that they better go pick on somebody else. Now this brings us to Tim, a real live person that I work with. And this happened 3 years ago. Just happened to run into him at a hockey game. And I don't go to very many hockey games, but anyway, ran into him at a hockey game. And Tim said, with a great deal of urgency in his voice, "You're a lawyer, aren't you?" No, I'm not a lawyer. "Well, you do legal stuff." "Well, yeah, I do legal stuff. What's your problem?" "It's, well, I've been sued." "Well, how do you know?" "Well, they sued me. I got this summons. Said, you've been sued. I'm going to have to go to court. They sued me." I said, "Well, maybe. Maybe you've been sued. Maybe you haven't." Now, why did I say that? Well, because I suspicioned that it would be the typical BS. And again, what was I relying on? I was relying on the law, because the law says in a disputed matter does not become a case or a proceeding until the law provides for a hearing before a court, and therefore any matter is first judicially determined in a court of some nature. In other words, until you put the four legs under that table, it's not even a case yet. It's not even a case. Now again, I'm not saying this because I love it. I do. But I'm saying it's because of the law. Let's go with those others for copying back there. So Tim thinks that he's been sued, and probably 99% of all lawyers and even a lot of judges probably thinks he was.
Okay, you guys get the point here. This is quite a bit of video. I'm not going to sit here and record the whole thing. But I have the title right there. So you can go to YouTube, type in that title, and the original video will show up. You want to listen to this guy because he tells you the shortcuts on how to defend yourself as a proper litigant. So go to his channel, like and subscribe, and while you're here at mine, make sure you hit that like button, and why not subscribe? Since I'm giving you this information for free, go ahead, subscribe to the channel.